Why does it know how to do that? Fine. Okay. Something like it. I don't see it. That doesn't use that. Yeah. That's the thing. No, it doesn't use that. No.
You should move it.
So let's write these
Who
down.
has 6? Number 6. Who has number? Did we approve yours, John? Did you write one? No, that's too long. This is only one? You gotta do one line. Who has 7?
So we have 6:45 this morning. Meeting for that. Okay, you can write that.
Okay. 6 is about to go up. Okay. So you should be writing these down on your sheet of paper, so that when we're done with this, you wind up with a total of 27 amendments on that. So I'm going to talk about these a little bit, and we'll start with number 1. Okay, freedom of religion, press, speech, peacefully assemble, and petition the government. Okay, there's 5 rights in the First Amendment. Now, the first one mentioned is religion. So this is often referred to as your first right, is religion. What does that mean? Well, to quote the First Amendment, I should wait. I will wait.
So do you want us to write them all and then, or can we just write them one at a time as you talk about them? Can we write the amendments one at a time as you talk about them? Or do you want us to-
No, it's all right. You can write them down. I'm not going to be able to stop people from doing that. So let's get them down because the bell may ring at any moment.
Okay. Is Jeopardy spelled right?
Yeah.
No.
Jeopardy.
I was like, what is that?
Jeopardy.
Jeop.
It's very wrong, actually.
We'll just fix it. I think that's. This looks like nose.
Nose.
It's not nose. It's no self-incrimination.
Nose of incrimination.
Nose incrimination. Oh, no self-incrimination. No self-incrimination. No self.
They should put a box around it.
No self. Are we ready? talk about the freedom? What's up, Smarsh?
Could I get the map assignment, please? Like
The one that's due today?
Yeah. Okay, you didn't give it to me.
Oh, you got it. It's on
I
Canvas.
did it. No, okay, I just tried copying it on a Word document and it wouldn't copy. I'll have it
You
done.
just tried today.
Yeah, today.
So what you're saying is you're gonna have it done because you're gonna get somebody else's.
No, because I have study hall, so I'm doing it right now. Appreciate you.
Yo, Smarsh, you need capitals, states,
Yeah.
and the countries. Are you sure?
No, Smosh.
She got a little snippy, didn't she? I haven't seen that side of her.
Really?
Is that pretty common?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. She's back.
That's my next guy.
What do we call you, ambassadors? Huh?
Yes.
The ambassadors are leaving. Another one. I'll be recording this, arriving.
They're just sending them away already.
We'll leave at some point.
Are they gonna be driving us?
They're leaving their house at this point.
Really, bro?
Okay, let's talk about the freedom of religion, please. Okay, what the Constitution says is that Congress shall make no law establishing a religion, nor prohibit the free exercise thereof. So there's two clauses on religion in the First Amendment. The Establishment Clause says that there can be no official religion. Remember I told you when we talked about Article 6, there's no religious test to run for office, right? So we made a big deal out of this, guys. We said, listen, it doesn't matter what religion you are. And the government's not going to have an official religion. It's not going to push it on you. Okay? So this is where you draw that line. Now, some would call it a wall of separation between church and state. Now, did I say those words when I quoted the First Amendment, a separation of church and state? No, because those words don't appear in the Constitution, a separation of church and state. Does anybody know where those words do appear and where we get them? Nobody's taught you this? Ferris didn't teach you this when you talked about the Bill of Rights last year? This term comes from Thomas Jefferson in a letter that he wrote to the Danbury Baptist Association when they were getting to ratify the Constitution. Some of the churches were worried that this new government would be able to control their religion. And Jefferson wrote them a letter saying, listen, you need not worry. There is a wall of separation between the church and the state. What he was referring to was that the state could not control the religion. He wasn't referring to the fact that religion couldn't play a role in government. But that is how the Supreme Court has read the Establishment Clause to this point. So this is where we get into all these debates and all these court cases about the Establishment Clause, which means, you guys remember when I talked about prayer in school, 1961, Engel versus Vitale said that public school teachers that are paid with taxpayer money cannot evangelize, cannot proselytize. Yes? Because that would be the government being involved in religion. Okay? And so the Supreme Court has said can't do that. Okay? And so there's a lot of gray area in there, right? Like, can a high school public school coach pray with his athletes? Is that allowed? I don't know. When I play heights in baseball, they go down the line and they pray. And the coach is in there with them. Okay. That's cool. I got no issue with that. But somebody might. Okay, and if they do raise it, and usually this is groups like the American Civil Liberties Union we'll get a phone call and say, hey, this coach is doing this at this school, okay? And they'll write a letter to Heights High School and say, hey, we heard that your coach was doing this. You need to stop him from doing that, or we're going to sue you. This is generally how these things play out, okay? So that's the establishment clause. It's an important thing, guys. Okay? We don't want an official religion, because if that official religion was Protestantism, you guys would be screwed. And if it was Catholicism, I would be screwed. If it was Islam, we'd all be screwed. Sorry. All it's Christians. Now, the free exercise part of the First Amendment says that, hey, listen, you can practice whatever religion you want. And this is good. This is good, right? So we don't have these fights over different religions in this country. Now, how many guys heard on news today was a day of what? Like, are people scared to go out in public today? What, you guys heard about this? Okay. Besides Friday the 13th. Something to do with what's going on in Israel today. Any guys hear about this? What do they call it? A day of resistance or a day of...
I just like it.
Huh? Lots of death. So the leader of Hamas has called for a day of like protest in the Western world by supporters of the Palestinians. Okay, so like New York City, where there's a lot of Jews. Okay, like they've got every cop in New York City showed up for work today. Okay, you don't have a day off today. Okay, because they're worried about violence. Okay, because Hamas gave this directive. Okay, I'm surprised more of you didn't hear about it, like on Instagram or something.
People like I didn't think that a lot of people were in support of us.
Well, you haven't been paying attention to like what's going on at Harvard and Michigan State and the University of Michigan and several Cornell, some of these other colleges where they've had pretty big protests in favor of the Palestinians against the Jews.
Nice.
New York City, Chicago, you've seen these, yes. It's Rashida Tlaib. Listen, there's nothing wrong with supporting the plight of the Palestinians. Okay? They have some legitimate beefs. Palestinians are not Hamas, but Hamas was elected by Palestinians to govern over them. Follow me. Okay? So, I think it's unfair to bash on all Palestinians. I think that's unfair to them. Okay? We have to recognize there's a difference. It's like the government of Iran is horrible. The people of Iran, generally not. The government, the Chinese Communist Party, not good. The people of China, they didn't do anything wrong. Most of them don't hate us. Now, the Palestinian children are taught from a very young age that killing Jews is a good thing. And they are brainwashed into that. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, I think, do the Jews always do everything right? No. Okay, there are some things that you have to look at, okay? And so it's a legitimate thing to support the plight of the Palestinian people, okay? And some people are very passionate about it. Rashida Tlaib is one of them, the congresswoman, okay? Now, and we play politics with this, which is sad, but both sides do it. Republicans do it to Democrats, Democrats do it to Republicans. Okay, so this reporter chased down Rashida Tlaib yesterday and said, do you denounce the murder of the babies, the decapitation of the babies, and the raping and kidnapping of Jews? Do you denounce that? And she didn't answer the question. She's trying to walk away. She doesn't want to answer that question. Now, so it's gotcha politics. It's gotcha politics, okay? And both sides do it, okay? And sometimes there's an appropriate time for that, and sometimes it's not an appropriate time, okay? So, all right, I got to keep talking about this. Okay, so the free exercise, really the only limits on religion are if it harms somebody, okay? And I think I gave you an example back when we talked about it, prayer in school. So I talked about the Pentecostals that worship, some of them worship with poisonous snakes. Did I talk about that with you guys? Okay, maybe I didn't talk about it. Okay, there is one sect of Pentecostals that do use poisonous poisonous snakes in worship to show faith, like God will protect me. I'm going to handle these snakes, God will protect me. Guys, you have every right to do that. If that's your religious belief, you can do that. However, if you allowed a child to handle these snakes that could kill them, you know what I mean? No, that's not allowed. Follow me? So most things, black magic, black mass, voodoo, all of that is allowed in the United States. Now, black mass, guys, is generally they steal the communion, like from the church, from a legitimate communion from the church. They steal it. Now, stealing is illegal. Does that make sense? So you can get them in trouble for stealing communion from the Catholic Church. Okay, but them doing a black mass, that's allowed. Follow me? Like, I don't know if you've heard about these satanic school clubs, after school clubs. I'm not kidding. Okay. It's a thing. And it's allowed. Okay. Guys, I know it's weird. It might upset you. But guys, this is what truly makes us free. Okay, we are a free nation. We are a free people. I know. Sometimes there's things out there that you just shake your head and you're like, I can't believe that. Or we shouldn't allow people to do that. Well, hang on a second. Because if you don't allow them to do that, then you're not allowed to do what you want. You know what I mean? And who gets to decide? You guys with me on this? And so when we go to speech, it's the same thing, right? Like some speech you don't like, hate speech. We talked about that, right? We talked about hate speech. Speech is violence. No, it's not. Speech is speech. Speech is not violence. Now, you can't start a riot. You can't libel someone. You can't slander someone. I mean, you can, but you could be sued for it. Okay. These sorts of things. But generally, guys, we take this one really serious. The press, really serious. Like, journalists cannot be forced to give up their sources when they report a story. Okay? You can't put the media in jail for writing bad things about the government. That's their job. That's why they did this, because they can be the watchdog of government. The part that sucks, though, is when the press is in collusion with the government. That's the scary part. I'm going to give you a simple truth, and you can get mad at me if you want. I don't care, but it's the truth. The coronavirus, COVID, is a respiratory virus, yes? Cloth masks like this do absolutely nothing to stop the spread of a respiratory virus. Zero. The particles in the respiratory, in my spit coming out of my mouth right now, sorry, it's gross, but it's coming out of my mouth, are way smaller than the fabrics in this mask. An N95 mask is better, but it's still not going to stop it. And by the way, if you have an N95 mask, you should only wear that mask for about an hour, and then you should throw it away and get a new one, which is what doctors do. You don't wear it for days on end. That's gross. But we were told, wear the mask. And who backed them up? Government said, trust the science, trust Anthony Fauci. Double mask, triple mask. Why? Because the masks don't work. So why wear one? Wear three. And it still doesn't work, and then you're losing oxygen to your brain. Think about kids, school children. I'm sorry. This pisses me off. And the media was in bed with the government. This virus came from bats. No, it didn't. It came from a lab in Wuhan, China, that was funded with our tax dollars through the National Institutes of Health. And Anthony Fauci knew it. They did gain of function research and escaped from the lab, but they covered it up. This is all coming out, guys. This is all going to come out. And the media covered for it. Okay? That's dangerous when the media colludes with the government. Now, we're getting into some scary, scary stuff with AI. Where they can take my voice, your voice, the president's voice, a members of Congress voice, a Hamas leader's voice, Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister's voice, video, and they can create all kinds of things with AI, artificial intelligence. So what we know with our own eyes, whether it's true or not by watching something on a screen, pretty soon, guys, we are not going to be able to determine truth from fiction. That's scary. That's coming. How do we, how do we do this? How do we navigate this? Because there's a lot of Palestinians right now that don't know whether to believe this massacre that happened this last Saturday actually happened. They're like, well, we don't believe it. We want to see the bodies. But then you show them bodies and they're like, well, how do we know that was from Israel and how do we know that was from Saturday? It could all be fake. They do it in Hollywood all the time. Now you can get a computer to do it for you. Like Hollywood might be going out of business. You're going to have it where AI can just like create characters and come up with a script for a movie. I mean, we're really close to being able to do that. Listen, you guys are the smartest people in the school. You guys need to pay attention to this stuff. Like, because I don't have the aptitude for it. I don't know how to frame this in my brain. I'm just giving you information. You guys are the ones that know how to think. You guys need to figure this out because this is your future. This is the future of your kids. So, like, if you know how to think about this stuff, like, you need to read about it and, like, tell other people about it. Because all right, sorry. Peacefully assemble. Right to petition your government without fear. Okay, guys, I can criticize the president. I can criticize members of Congress, so forth, okay? All right. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of the free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Okay, what does that mean? I think I talked about this when we talked about gun laws. Yes, the militia at the time was the neighborhood, right? Everybody had a gun. Everybody was in a militia. Okay. Today, the Supreme Court has said that your individual right to possess a weapon is found in the Second Amendment. You do have that right as of now. Okay. There are limits on that. Okay. The Supreme Court will determine how many limits are allowed or not. Okay. When laws are passed that restrict your right to bear arms, people will challenge those laws in court. It'll make its way to the Supreme Court, and they'll determine whether it violates the Second Amendment or not. Yes, everybody understands how that works. Okay, number 3. Somebody wrote in their essay, and I like this. They said, I know it does, when it was in, for most people, when you read the quartering of soldiers, they're like, well, why is that important? Well, it became important after the Intolerable Acts in 1774, when British troops started to house themselves in people's homes in Boston. Okay, the quartering of soldiers, and this is what helped lead to the revolution. Okay, so that's why it's important. Could that ever happen again? Sure. That can happen again. Okay, but they're not allowed to during peacetime. Okay, we had a major world war or something, and it was on our soil, they would waive that right, just like they'll waive most rights during a war. Because it's a crisis. And that's what happens. Are you with me? Okay. No unreasonable search and seizure. Guys, this is so important, right? Especially in the modern age. It took a long time for, once the internet came about, and telephones and what was a search and what wasn't, what was legal, what was not. Police officers, the FBI, any type of law enforcement, they have to be trained on this, what they're allowed to do and what they're not. Okay. At the end of the semester, I will go through your civil liberties with you, and we'll do a little bit deeper dive on this. But there's stuff called probable cause or getting a warrant. Okay, these sorts of things are necessary in order for the government to search or seize your property. Okay. This is a very important amendment. Okay, and it goes to our freedom. Great importance, okay? Number 5, I think I've told you guys, due process means anytime you have an encounter with law enforcement, government agent, an agent of the government, there is a process you are due. So if they're going to take you downtown and book you into jail, they have to read you your Miranda rights. That's due process. You have to, all of this stuff from here on out is due process. This is due process. They can't search you without probable cause. That's due process, okay? Now, this part, the next 2 parts are pretty interesting. There's no double jeopardy. How much time do I have? A minute, 2, 5, 6?
2.
Okay, real quick. You cannot be tried for the same crime twice if you're found innocent. So O.J. Simpson was found innocent of killing his ex-wife and her boyfriend. 12-0 jury, innocent. O.J. Simpson can come out right now with a video of him killing the people and present the weapon that he used, and you can't do anything to him. He's been found innocent. Now, if it's a hung jury, it's 7-5 or 7-5 not guilty. It doesn't matter. It's a hung jury. They can retry you. But if you are ever found innocent, they can never try you again for that crime. That's why district attorneys, prosecutors will not bring a case unless they think they can win. Because if you're found innocent, you're off. Does that make sense? So this prevents the government from abusing your life. Here, no self-incrimination. If you're put on the stand to testify in a trial that somebody else is on trial, and they ask you a question that would incriminate you in a crime, you can plead the Fifth Amendment. You can say, I refuse that, answer that question using my Fifth Amendment right. I plead the Fifth. Have you heard this before?
Yeah.
Okay. Very important. So if you plead the Fifth, they may think you did something wrong, but they got to go find evidence. You know what I mean? If you lie, that's perjury. That's a felony. This is why they don't put a lot of people being charged with crimes on the stand. Okay? You can't be forced to incriminate yourself. Okay? Or your spouse. Your kids? Yes. Your parents? Yes. Your brother, sister? Yes. Your spouse? No. That's a Christian tradition, Jewish Christian tradition, that once a man and a woman are married, they become one. So you can't be forced to testify against yourself. Who said there were no Judeo-Christian influences on our Constitution and our laws? Yes.
Okay, so why? I thought O.J. Simpson was guilty. Wait, is he in jail?
Oh, he did something after he was found innocent.
Oh, what did he do?
Yeah, armed robbery.
Oh, okay. So when he was driving away on
That was it was years after he got in trouble.
Oh, is he still in jail or did he get?
I think he's out.
Have a good day.
No.